OpenWorker is completely free and Manus charges $20 a month. That's money leaving your account every single month just to keep the lights on. $0 versus 20, and that gap compounds fast if you're running agents daily. Local AI agents are everywhere right now, and the free vs paid question is legitimate. I'm putting OpenWorker against Manus across 5 head-to-head tests to see who actually wins. The cost gap isn't the whole story, though. There's a privacy and capability trade-off that could make or break this for your specific workflow, and I'll get to it. My name is Brian, and I'm in these tools 12 hours a day, so you don't have to be. Every number in this video is traced back to pricing pages and release notes both companies actually published. This one's for anyone running automated workflows daily and trying to decide whether free open source or a paid cloud agent is actually worth it. Test 1. Cost. I get the objection. You're probably thinking a free tool can't seriously compete with a polished paid product. But run 30 agent tasks a month on Manus Pro and you're paying $20 every single month, no matter how little you actually use, which adds up to $240 a year before you've shipped anything. So I went through every pricing tier both tools publish. OpenWorker is MIT licensed and free. Your only real cost is whatever model API you plug in. Manus Pro Standard runs $20 a month, and if you need more credits, the extended plan jumps to $200 a month. What surprised me is how fast Manus credits deplete on real workflows. Users report the Pro tier feels closer to the free tier in practice. OpenWorker takes cost, and it's not subtle. Free and open source versus a $20 to $200 monthly credit meter is a real gap. Manus's free tier doesn't soften the blow much either. 1,000 credits runs out faster than you'd think on complex tasks. That puts OpenWorker up 1-0 on the scoreboard. Test 2. Coding benchmark performance. A solo dev shipping a real project on a deadline needs to know whether their agent can actually handle complex tasks, not just simple ones. If your tool has no published benchmark data, you're basically flying blind. You don't know how it performs until something breaks at the worst possible moment. Okay, so here's what I found. Manus has published benchmark claims, Gaia state-of-the-art, and Manus 1.5 reports a 15% task quality improvement over earlier versions. That 15% figure is vendor claimed from an internal benchmark, so take it with a grain of salt. OpenWorker? I couldn't find any published benchmark scores at all, but it does support 30+ models with your own API key, so performance really depends on what you plug in. Manus takes coding benchmark performance because it at least has published claims to point to. Gaia, Soda, and that 15% improvement number. OpenWorker's model flexibility is genuinely useful, but no benchmark data means no comparison. That ties the score up, 1 for OpenWorker, 1 for Manus. Test 3. Speed. 2 to 3 seconds. That's how fast OpenWorker handles a simple task, according to community reports. When you're chaining 20 tasks in a row, that latency gap stops being academic and starts being the difference between an agent loop that feels snappy and one where you're sitting there, watching a spinner for minutes at a time. What I looked at, OpenWorker clocks 2 to 3 seconds on simple tasks and 10 to 30 seconds on complex ones based on community-reported numbers. Manus 1.5 claims under 4 minutes average per complex task, which is a big improvement over earlier versions that were averaging around 15 minutes. Keep in mind, these are different test setups measuring completely different task types, so the numbers aren't directly comparable. This is where the comparison gets a little tricky. OpenWorker's 2-second number is for simple tasks. Manus's 4-minute number is for complex multi-step workflows. They're not racing on the same track. If you're doing quick lookups, OpenWorker feels faster. If you're shipping a full deliverable and walking away, 4 minutes is actually pretty reasonable for what it's doing. Speed is a tie. The data just doesn't let you call a winner here. The task types are too different to stack up cleanly. Still 1 each, with 1 tied. Alright, so we've still got context and output limits and deployment coming up. And those 2 tests are where the real philosophical difference between these tools shows up. The deployment test in particular is going to tell you whether the privacy trade-off I teased at the start actually matters for your workflow, so stick around for that one. Test 4. Context and output limits. The objection I hear a lot is that free tools hit a wall on long sessions. They lose context, start repeating themselves, and you end up babysitting the agent instead of letting it run. OpenWorker caps at 12 model-to-tool iterations per turn, so the real question is whether that ceiling kills long, complex workflows before they finish. So here's what I found. OpenWorker v0.1.7 added auto compaction, which means it compresses context automatically when sessions run long. Manus claims expanded context with what it calls an unlimited cap, but I couldn't find a published numeric limit from either side. Both tools use compaction strategies to keep long sessions alive, and the scores on screen are both 8 out of 10 for long session management. Pretty much a draw. Now, Manus's unlimited claim sounds better on paper, but without a published number, it's kind of hard to verify. OpenWorker's 12 iteration cap is a real ceiling, but for most workflows, it's enough. And the auto compaction means you're not hitting a hard stop. You're getting a compressed handoff. So the gap here is smaller than the spec sheet makes it look. Context and output limits is another tie. OpenWorker's 12 iteration cap looked like it would put it at a real disadvantage, but auto compaction closes that gap more than I thought it would. Both handle long sessions well enough that this doesn't decide anything. Still one each, now with 2 tied. Test 5, deployment and modality. The day your agent sends sensitive client data to a cloud sandbox you don't control is the day you have a very bad conversation with your legal team. OpenWorker runs on-device and keeps everything local. Manus processes in the cloud. And for anyone handling data that can't leave the building, that distinction is the whole decision. Okay, so what I looked at here. OpenWorker runs as a local desktop app on macOS and Windows, with 25 plus native connectors, GitHub, Slack, Jira, and more. Manus runs in a cloud sandbox and brings 29 tools, plus a full-stack web app builder that ships production-ready apps. The tool breadth is comparable, but the deployment philosophy is completely different. OpenWorker scores 9 out of 10 on local privacy. Manus scores 9 out of 10 on web app delivery. This one depends entirely on what you're trying to do. If you need to ship a full-stack web app with minimal setup, Manus's Cloud Builder is genuinely useful and OpenWorker doesn't have an equivalent. But if your data can't go to the cloud, client contracts, internal docs, anything sensitive, OpenWorker's local first setup is the only one that even qualifies. Different tools for different jobs. Deployment and modality is a tie too, because each tool wins on a completely different axis. OpenWorker on privacy, Manus on finished work delivery. Neither beats the other overall. That wraps the tests at 1 for OpenWorker, 1 for Manus, and 3 tied. Alright, so here's where OpenWorker clearly beats Manus. It's free, MIT license, no credit meter, no monthly bill. Your data stays on your machine, which is a hard requirement for a lot of real workflows. It supports 30 plus models with your own API key, so you're not locked into one provider. And for simple tasks, it responds in 2 to 3 seconds. And here's where Manus clearly beats OpenWorker. It has actual published benchmark claims, Gaia state-of-the-art, 15% task quality improvement, and version 1.5. It ships production-ready full-stack web apps, which OpenWorker flat-out can't do. It handles complex multi-step workflows in a cloud sandbox, and it now has Meta's enterprise backing behind it. Okay, so here's the honest call. I went in thinking the $20 gap would be the whole story, but the privacy and capability split ended up mattering just as much. $0 versus $20, that's the cost frame. If you need local first privacy and want to control your model costs, OpenWorker is the clear pick. If you need a hands-off agent that ships finished deliverables and you're okay paying for it, Manus is worth it. If you're still trying to figure out whether a free local agent can actually keep up with a paid cloud one, I'd check out the video I did on Ollama versus Claude Code, can free local keep up? It goes deep on exactly that question, and the answer might surprise you.